guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fit and Focus for Remote Work and Digital Nomads podcast. My name is Shurina. I'm a certified nutritionist, health, nutrition, brain performance coach, digital nomad, and just someone with a lot of passion for helping you guys to learn how to use nutrition, lifestyle, workspace, living space, tools, all neuroscience research based, and also research based on nutrition science, health, integrative health sciences, and many different, pieces of research that I come across, and I integrate all of them into a simple protocol. So you guys have tools and have the power to change the way how you feel every single day. And how you feel changes what you do, decisions you make, opportunities you approach or don't approach, people you approach or don't approach. And that every day, drip by drip, drop by drop, it changes the course of your entire life and career. How you feel changes everything. The reason, guys, for example, I get so many opportunities because of this podcast. And the only reason why I do this podcast, I've been doing this podcast for many, many years is because every day I wake up and I'm so passionate and motivated and I want to learn and share, right? That's been the major driver of this podcast. And I also want to learn from other fascinating people in the space of science or remote work and people who are nomads, but also do amazing things in the world, right? This passion, this drive, this motivation, all this beautiful brain chemistry that creates this feeling. That's been the major driver. So that's the feeling, Now, for example, I'm also working on the business side of things and sales. And again and again, I read in every book from people who actually did a lot in sales, and transformed their understanding and their business because of the things they understood. And they all say the same thing. People buy emotions, right? But the tricky part is if we ourselves don't have emotions for what we do, we're not going to be able to transfer any emotion to other people through our work, through our interactions, or in whichever other way. So feeling good is really an underestimated talent. And what I mean by talent, and not so much a talent as a skill, is that you can actually change certain habits, certain things in your environment, certain things you put on your plate, and you're going to change how you feel and how you show up and what kind of emotions and energy other people get from you. And that will change, again, the course of your life. Today, we are talking about my favorite topic, food. People who know me know how passionate about food I am. Like, I can talk hours about food and nutrition and how amazing certain foods are. People think that as a nutritionist, I don't like food that much, because, don't eat this or that. No, actually, I'm a nutritionist and I got certified as a nutritionist because I like food. I love food so much and I want to understand it and I want to know how it works. And I'm so passionate about the effect and the value and the change in us that the food creates. And I'm just so passionate about it. And my main food and nutrition philosophy has always been choose the foods that make you better. Right? There are foods that objectively and subjectively make you feel, do so much better in life. And it has nothing to do, with pleasure. And there are different kinds of pleasures, right? Healthy food is also very pleasurable experience when it's cooked well, when all the flavors are combined. But what nutritious, nutrient-dense whole foods do versus processed foods, they actually give you so much more over the long term. They give you peace, they give you balance, they give you great body, great mind, they give you your talents, they make you radiant human being by working their magic that we are yet as scientific communities to understand fully. Whole nutrient dense food, they enhance you. Right? And that's why I'm so passionate. And I'm always, when I look at my plate, I'm like, what other delicious and nutritious and superfood foods I can put on my plate so I can enjoy all the flavors and also feel amazing. Today, guys, I want to give you the list of my favorite foods, and it's not just my favorite foods. If you read any brain food article, you will encounter all of these foods. And my nutrition guideline for myself is very simple. Put as many brainy foods on your plate as every meal every day as possible. Cook them in a delicious way, and the rest will do just fine. You won't have to care about or be careful about any diets or counting calories, etc. when you treat your brain right with the brainy kinds of foods that contain nutrients that are super beneficial and important and very often essential for your brain. When you organize each of your meal around those foods, you'll be blown away how good your health and well-being gets, and your weight and your cravings will all be in balance. Will be cravings you will have none. You'll just crave the food that are work for you, right? So when you feed your brain the hungriest when it comes to energy and nutrient density organ in our body, when you feed your brain right, the rest of the body will absolutely love it. It's actually a fact. The brain is the most complex organ and machine, they say, in the entire universe, and it has very complex nutrition needs. And it just happens that way, that when you supply your brain with all the right nutrition, the rest of the body will get everything they need as well. So let's get to it. What are the foods that I try to put on my plate, if not every single day, then every other day, right? If I miss a day, I'm for sure going to be eating them the next day. And they not so much, come in the order of importance, because as everything in the body, it kind of either works all together or it doesn't. You can't separate your legs and expect the rest of the body to work just fine, right? The same with foods. They have all these different compounds that with other compounds, they work as an orchestra, like a dance group, like a whole theater, like a team, right? So when you get all of them, everything works. When you start not getting some of them, the rest also will not work, because certain vitamins and minerals, they need certain proteins or fatty acids to work properly. And the other way around, like to get energy and make it work properly in your brain, you need certain vitamins, right? So if you don't have the energy or the vitamins, then nothing's gonna work. And that's why eating a variety of foods, eating a diverse diet is so important, not sticking with the same exact foods. I always, as a nutritionist with my clients, I talk about variety. And by variety, I mean simply not just eating a whole range of whole foods and not restricting whole foods groups. Like I'm not eating meat just because, I think it's fancy, right? Try not to restrict foods without a good enough reason. That might be physiological reason. Maybe you're allergic to something or sensitive, it just doesn't work for you. It makes you feel not good every time you eat it. Or you have really strong, beliefs that, maybe like some people think that eating animals is not the right thing, and it's not my place to judge somebody's beliefs. But do make sure that you don't stick with some of those beliefs just because somebody else told you, and that's the only reason. It's never a good reason, right? Have a good enough reason to restrict a nutrient-dense food. So, but when it comes to variety, what I also mean is if you eat vegetables, for example, don't eat just one kind of vegetable. Eat different kinds of vegetable. When I go to a supermarket, if I'm in a supermarket that has a variety of green vegetables, every time I go there, I would choose a different kind of vegetables that I haven't chosen the week before, right? If I eat different fruit, I try to include variety. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that on my plate there is always a variety of fruit, not just one kind of fruit or berry, but different kinds, because different food, even if they are in the same food group like fruit, they will still have quite diverse range of nutrients. Not like, some people say, it's just fruit, it has this. No, every fruit has different things. Like some fruit are considered to be super fruit, meaning they have skyrocketing ranges of vitamins and minerals, and some are not as rich in nutrients, but they might be rich in a very specific nutrient, right? So the same with animal products. If you happen to be in a place, I remember when I lived in UK just a year ago, when you go to an egg side of the supermarket, they would have quail eggs, duck eggs, all kinds of different chicken eggs, right? They even have, I think, ostrich eggs, like super huge egg, it's like, I don't know, 10 eggs in one. So they would have all this range, and I would try to get quail and duck and egg. Never got this ostrich egg just because I was afraid I'm gonna, I don't know, do something wrong with that. The same with meats or chickens. Sometimes it's chicken, sometimes it's, I don't know, beef, sometimes it's lamb, sometimes this fish, that fish, you get the idea. The same with nuts and seeds. Yeah, there are some nuts like walnut that are super beneficial for the brain, but also try to include variety of other nuts, pistachios, cashews, macadamia, Brazil nuts, the same with seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, other seeds. The more variety, the better. So let's get to the list of brainy foods that are rich in nutrients that's specifically good for your brain. And again, what's good for your brain is also really good for your body. Let's start with beans. Not so many people these days, I don't know, at least in diet tribes, eat beans for one reason or the other, like they have lectins or they have some other stuff, but beans are actually quite rich in nutrients, and when you cook them right, and by cooking them right, I mean you gotta soak them at least overnight, you gotta cook them really well. Bigger beans would require probably like 40-50 minutes of cooking. Smaller beans like, lentils, not beans, would require about 20 minutes, right? It depends on the bean, but soaking, sprouting, boiling them on a low heat, or pressure cooking them, the method really matters because it kills the anti-nutrients and gives you the goodness, and also removes all the digestive problems. But beans, high in super fiber, what I like to call, it's resistant starch that feeds specific kind of gut bacteria that build your gut lining. And gut lining is important for all aspects of your health, because the quality of your gut lining will define how good your gut is at getting the nutrients in, the ones that you need, keeping the bad bugs, bacteria, infections out of your bloodstream, and also how well your immune system works. Because one of the major goals, or not so much goals, but roles of your immune system is to guard your gut and make sure that good stuff gets in and bad stuff stays out, or it's killed upon entering your bloodstream. And so the better your gut lining is, the easier job your immune system will have doing that, right? That's why gut lining is important, and that's why eating foods with resistant starches is important, and beans are specifically very rich in that resistant starch. Even better, if you cook beans, you cool them down, the amount of resistant starch gonna increase. So that's for beans. Plus, beans have a lot of minerals, folate, minerals like magnesium, potassium. It's a very important mineral for your blood sugar control, for your blood pressure. And by the way, the brain is very sensitive to your blood pressure and your blood sugar. The brain doesn't work when those go out of balance. Again, high in minerals, high in plant-based amino acids or proteins. They release their carbs, their sugars really slowly, and slow down the absorption of carbohydrates and nutrients and sugars in general, and they keep you full, right? Beans are so amazing for so many reasons. Champions in fiber and in super fiber. So beans, again, I eat lentils, so beans, third of cup dried, every day or every other day, sometimes even twice a day. I've become quite a bean fan. Plus, in all the books about longevity, they say all the centenarians eat some kinds of beans. Like in Okinawa, in Japan, they eat a lot of soybeans, but also other beans. In Mediterranean region, another region where people live really long in some parts of it, they eat a lot of other kinds of beans, right? In almost every region where people live a long time, they eat a lot of beans. The next one is greens. leafy greens and non-leafy green vegetables, but specifically leafy, like spinach or Swiss chard, kale, if you love it. For me, kale is not so much love relationship. I don't know, it always makes me feel like craving something and anxious when I eat it, maybe because as a kid I never ate any kale, so my gut never got used to that, right? And that's, where personalization comes into play. If you eat something and it doesn't make you feel good, don't eat it. So that's a good rule of thumb. Greens, very high in vitamin K, they high in folate, they high in also in minerals like potassium, like magnesium. Again, every green would have different profile, but in general, try to eat a cup or two more of greens, fresh and cooked. Some greens are better cooked, like broccoli, for example, Brussels sprouts. They are not so gentle on the gut, and nutrients are better absorbed when cooked. When I cook my vegetables, like Brussels sprouts, they always quite tender. My gut seems to not be as great at digesting raw green vegetables, so I always cook them. Plus in spinach, if, for example, for your information, there are some anti-nutrients as well. When you cook that spinach, those anti-nutrients are destroyed either partially or fully, and a lot more goodness is absorbed. So greens every single day, and things like lettuce, even though they do contain some nutrients, but they're not as powerful as green and dark, leafy and non-leafy green vegetables, right? So greens. The next one, fruit, but specifically berries. Berries have special antioxidants that are amazing for the brain and for longevity. Anthocyanins, they have like special properties, especially things like blueberries. They boost dopamine, they say, and memory and cognitive capacity. So darker blue and red berries, they are especially great for antioxidants that the brain loves. And the brain is that electricity producing organ, and it needs a lot of defense to kind of buffer that electrical activity and not damage the brain itself with oxidation. And so that's why the brain loves all these antioxidant rich foods. Greens are also high in antioxidants, but berries specifically. And also maybe because we don't cook usually fruit and berries, that we get antioxidants preserved because they are also heat sensitive. Frozen berries also work. So eat them frozen, eat them fresh. Don't cook your berries. Again, you destroy a lot of that antioxidant capacity of them. With fruit, I always recommend bananas, not because they are the richest in nutrients, but because they have potassium that most people are kind of low in. And again, potassium is important for blood sugar, blood pressure, but also a ton of other hydration, a ton of other processes, heart health, one of the, major kind of health that you need to support. So potassium, you need to eat a lot of it from things like fruit, greens, and beans. Specifically, why I always focus on bananas is because they're so cheap and so widely available that it's easier to get them. Plus, they have other nutrients like B6, one of the B vitamins that is important for energy, but also for making different neurotransmitters like dopamine, for example, or serotonin, that are super important for brain performance. Right? So bananas, but then also, peaches, melons, kiwis, guavas, apples, pears, plums, they're all good for their own reasons, but berries and bananas, right? Nuts and seeds. Here specifically, I want to talk about walnuts that have essential fats, omega-3s, omega-6s. Brain looks like walnut, or walnut looks like brain. And I always remind people that the molecular structure of certain things creates the shape. So the walnut is shaped as a brain, or the brain is shaped as a walnut, because they have certain molecules of those fats that are the same. And basically what it means is the walnut provides the same kind of structural material that your brain needs in a very similar proportion and amount that the brain needs. And when you eat your walnuts, you get those essential fats that your brain is made of and needs to function. So walnuts are specifically rich in those essential fats in that good proportion of omega-3s and omega-6s. So walnuts, I eat a handful every day. By the way, with berries and fruit, for berries, I recommend a cup a day. Eat more if you want to. Bananas, couple of bananas, small bananas, depends on how big you are, what your energy requirements are, and the rest of your diet, right? If you're a super athlete, you might eat a whole bunch of them every day, and that's going to be super good for you. But yeah, walnuts, generous handful. Then in nuts, in seeds, I like to highlight sunflower seeds for some of the B vitamins, and especially vitamin E, a major body's antioxidant that your brain also needs to maintain its function, to protect itself and all the rich electrical activity. Pumpkin seeds rich in minerals, zinc specifically, also magnesium. Also, there are obviously healthy fats. So pumpkin seeds seem to stimulate dopamine, one of the passionate, driven molecules in our brain. So sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, I specifically want to highlight those. Eat a handful of those maybe as a snack. I sometimes cook with them. I put them in salads. So good for so many things. Let's get to an animal kingdom. Not all of you eat animal products, but they are super rich in some nutrients that are much harder to get in plants. Specifically, they're rich in certain amino acids or proteins that are plants not as rich in, that are needed to create things like dopamine or serotonin. So if you're someone, for example, who is always kind of on a low mood vibe, you might consider adding animal protein back into your diet, because certain amino acids important for example, for creating serotonin, one of the feel-good, peace and balance brain chemicals, needs amino acids that are more present in things like chicken, turkey, beef, pork, dairy products, eggs. They're much more readily available there than in any kind of plant. I think in plant kingdom, the only kind of richer source of those essential amino acids for your brain, soy. It has all the essential amino acids that our brain, our body need, but still the proportion is not the same as you would find in animal products. Animal kingdom, animals are closer to humans. We are all in animal kingdom, in mammalian kingdom, and so things that mammals are made of, so to speak, we also made of the same stuff in a very similar molecular structure, and that's why eating animal products for a lot of things are more beneficial than trying to get the same stuff from plants. Not impossible, but it's going to be harder. And here in Animal Kingdom, I want to highlight a few foods. Salmon. It's not just for omega-3 fatty acids that you can get a substitute. There is also plenty of B6 vitamin. That's important for making serotonin, for dopamine, for all of these good, feel good, and get active neurotransmitters. It is also high in tyrosine to make dopamine, for example, again, and important for other brain chemicals. It is rich in all the proteins and fatty acids, and even some antioxidants that we need, even potassium, important for blood pressure and blood sugar regulation and hydration. So salmon, specifically salmon. Other fatty fish are also amazing for omega-3s, like we get sardines, herring, mackerel, but salmon has a special place on the plate when it comes to brain nutrition, and not just for omega-3s. Then we have eggs. Again, there are so many reasons why eggs are good for you, from B vitamins to vitamin A to vitamin D to some antioxidants that are needed for eye health, for some essential fats that the body needs. But also eggs, when it comes to brain nutrition, is the richer source of this molecule choline that in the brain is made as acetylcholine. And what you want to understand is that every time you want to pay attention, you want to focus, you want to learn, you want to memorize, you need that acetylcholine. That is also important for so many other things in the brain, in the body. And eggs happen to be the richer source. The next is liver. Organ meats also super important, special highlight: B vitamins, iron, vitamin A, zinc, just super rich. But let's get back to eggs. Memory, learning, attention, focus, great dreams, creativity, eggs. There is no other food that comes as close to providing that essential molecule as eggs do. Plus, again, such a richness of other nutrients. What I recommend, 1, 2, 3, whatever you can get. The daily dose of that choline is in 3 eggs. So whenever I can get 3 eggs, I eat them. Probably I do that at least 4 times per week. So you might think, Angela, all these foods, how do I eat all of them? And that's what I'm saying. Every time I eat, I try to put as many of those as possible. And by the time I eat all of them, I'm already so full. I'm like, how do people eat any processed foods like I'm so full already by just eating all of these foods that I'm supposed to be eating. Right? So when you start eating all of these foods, you just won't have the space to eat foods that don't work for you. You're already going to be so full. So eggs, I mentioned organ meats. Guys, eat chicken liver or other livers once a week. It will do so good for your brain. Again, so many nutrients are, especially B vitamins. There is like so much of them. No other food has that, like no other food. So learn how to cook liver. It can be so delicious, and just eat it every, for me, it's 1 day a week. I eat liver whenever I can find it. My favorite is chicken livers, and that's what I recommend because of specific nutrition profile. The next one is yogurt. I specifically want to talk here about yogurt and kefir, those fermented products that not just provide probiotics that you can get from other sources, but they also provide calcium in the richest bioavailable form. And calcium is important for your digestion, for your muscle contraction, and it is important for your brain because every time your neurons want to talk to each other to get something done, guess what? They need calcium to get the job done. And a lot of people do not get enough calcium. And what happens is calcium is so important for that reason that the body will take that calcium from your bones, that your bones is basically kind of calcium deposits, right? That the body use when you don't eat your calcium. But if you always take your calcium from your bones, by the time you're like 60 or 70, you have a great chance of breaking all of that stuff and dying in like a year. That's the prognosis for people in 60s and 70s and later. If you break your bones and you have lower density of minerals in your bones, then your chance of dying is quite high. It's like in a year, you have 40%, I think, of dying or something. What you want to understand is calcium is important. Get it from your food. Half a liter of yogurt will provide that, or get it from combination of foods, but you really got to know your numbers, or supplement. And the last, but not least, chocolate, my favorite foods. If I were to design my favorite diet, I would eat chocolate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe instead of meals sometimes. I do love chocolate. Chocolate is my plant, right? Chocolate, why it's so good for the brain? It stimulates all the feel good and feel energized and motivated neurotransmitters in the brain, literally dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, norepinephrine, and the mind. Like chocolate is the brainy treat. It also improves blood circulation to your brain, oxygenation of the tissues. And these things are super important for a healthy brain. Blood circulation, a lot of oxygen. With blood come a lot of nutrients that you eat from all the other foods foods, right? So chocolate does all of that. It seems to improve cognition and memory, accumulating in those areas specifically in the brain that are in charge of learning and memory. People who eat chocolate consistently have a better cognitive capacities later into their years. Funny fact, countries that eat the most chocolate seem to have quite a huge percentage of Nobel laureates, like countries like Switzerland and Germany. Eating most chocolate and have quite a lot of smart people for one reason or the other. Plus, somehow they got a hold of chocolate even though they never grew it. It doesn't grow anywhere near them, and they still got a lot of it, right? Smart people. So chocolate. My recommendation, as dark as possible, I eat 100% because all the goodness is in the dark stuff. Chocolate, milk, chocolate, candy isn't the stuff that where you get the goodness. Some chocolate candy, chocolate quote unquote, has close to none of the actual dark solids that we need to get all the benefits. So dark chocolate, anything less than 75%, I personally consider candy and really not useful for anything brain related. In studies, they use 80% to get the most benefit. That seems to be the shit for the brain to get better. But yeah, I go for 100%. I eat 30 grams, 1 ounce. That's also what has been used in many studies, and that's what I recommend to people. Plus, again, eat a little bit of chocolate every now and then, and you get your motivation, your focus, your zest for life, your boosted learning and memory capacity. So chocolate is one brainy food. And if you ask me what's for dessert, always chocolate. And that's it for today, guys. This is the list of foods that I would try to put on my plate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at some point in the day, or at least every other day, as much as possible. Let's recap the list. Beans, greens, berries, and bananas, fruit in general. Walnuts, but also sunflower and pumpkin seeds, but walnuts specifically. The brain nut, salmon, another fatty fish, but salmon not just for omega-3 fatty acids, eggs, 1, 2, 3 a day, memory, learning, your genius brain needs all of that. But again, all the other nutrients, we have organ meats like liver, especially chicken liver, super rich in B vitamins, iron, vitamin A, zinc, so much goodness that your brain needs. Dairy products, specifically fermented dairy products like kefir and yogurt, of course, without sugar. Add berries or some other natural stuff to make it flavorful. If you do not like the plain stuff, I usually add blueberries, cacao, maca, and cinnamon. That is such a delight. And sometimes I add some walnuts for the crunch. So dairy for your calcium, that makes your neurons talk to each other better. Protein foods in general, you need to eat your protein for the brain to function. And if we go for dessert, I'd say make it every time. Go for dark chocolate, 80% and more. I go for 100%, just the good stuff. And that's it, guys. So what's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Start thinking about that. Start thinking about how can you introduce these foods into your daily diet as much as possible. Your genius brain will unlock its genius for you once you start feeding its potential. You know, it's like I have a few friends from Holland, and they are tall people. And the reason I think they are tall, and it's also actually what's been told by Dutch people themselves, is they consume a lot of calcium. Calcium is the structural material of your bones, and so you get a lot of calcium and your bones grow to their potential. But no calcium, guess what? I bet if you get some Dutch person and you would give them close to zero calcium, not zero, but smaller percentage, they might not grow as tall, because you might have in your genes the blueprint for height and genius. But if you don't consume that calcium to build the house, if you don't consume those foods to build that genius brain, not gonna happen. There is some magic in life, but not that kind of bad magic. If you don't have the building blocks to build physical structures, not gonna happen. And that's how you want to look at brain nutrition, right? Some, for example, essential fats, they literally your brain needs them to build the connections between neurons and solidify them and make them effective and efficient, right? If you don't eat your fatty fish, not gonna happen. And that's why eat those building blocks, build up your genius. And if you want to get tall, maybe start eating calcium in bigger amounts. That's it for today, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, you always can reach out with questions. I'm a certified nutritionist. If you need any finer details for your specific diet situation or food intolerance, please reach out. And what else? Till next time, eat as many brainy foods as possible.